In William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, Mark Antony emerges as one of the play's most dynamic and multifaceted figures. Although he begins as Caesar's loyal friend and seemingly carefree subordinate, Antony evolves into a masterful politician, a shrewd manipulator, and a force that transforms the political landscape. Through his intelligence, emotional power, and adaptability, Antony shifts the tide of events after Caesar's death, turning a moral tragedy into a political revolution. Role in a narrative. Mark Antony's role in Julius Caesar is pivotal, serving as both the emotional counterbalance to Brutus's rationality and the dramatic engine that drives the play's second half. At first glance, Antony appears secondary to Caesar and Brutus. He enters the play as Caesar's athletic and loyal companion, more soldier than statesman. However, following Caesar's assassination, Antony emerges as the central force in the narrative, employing rhetoric, strategy, and manipulation to avenge his fallen friend and seize control of Rome. Antony's most defining moment occurs during his funeral oration, a scene that marks the turning point of the play. In the aftermath of Caesar's death, the conspirators attempt to justify their actions to the public, with Brutus appealing to reason and republican virtue. Antony, however, appeals to emotion, transforming the crowd's sympathy for Brutus into outrage against the assassins. His speech is a masterclass in persuasion, blending irony, repetition, and theatrical performance. Through his words, Antony manipulates the crowd's feelings, showing how easily reason can be overpowered by rhetoric. This shift in public sentiment leads directly to the civil unrest and bloodshed that dominate the play's final acts. Antony's narrative role thus evolves from loyal subordinate to political avenger and, finally, to one of the architects of a new Roman order. By the end of the play, he stands beside Octavius and Lepidus as one of the rulers of Rome, signaling the dawn of the empire and the death of republican freedom. Antony is a study in dualities, a man capable of genuine affection and ruthless calculation. His first defining trait is loyalty. In the early acts, his devotion to Caesar is unwavering. He risks his own life to shake the conspirators' bloody hands after the assassination, masking his grief and anger beneath a facade of submission. This apparent compliance is a strategic disguise, allowing Antony to secure permission to speak at Caesar's funeral, a decision that ultimately undoes the conspirators. His loyalty, however, is not blind. Antony's love for Caesar is sincere, but his grief quickly transforms into political motivation. He uses his friend's death to consolidate his own power, demonstrating that loyalty and ambition can coexist uneasily within the same individual. In this sense, Antony's character bridges the gap between the idealism of Brutus and the pragmatism of Cassius. He feels deeply, but he also acts shrewdly. Antony's rhetorical mastery is perhaps his most defining quality. His funeral oration exemplifies his ability to read and manipulate human emotion. He speaks to the heart. In appealing to the people's empathy and outrage, Antony ignites the mob's fury, proving that emotion, not reason, governs political life. Yet Antony's brilliance carries a dark edge. His manipulation of the crowd foreshadows the moral decay of Rome's future leadership. Later, we see Antony as part of the new triumvirate with Octavius and Lepidus, ordering the deaths of political enemies and even consenting to the execution of his own nephew. His earlier sincerity gives way to realpolitik, revealing how power can corrupt even the most loyal hearts. Symbolic significance. Symbolically, Mark Antony represents the triumph of rhetoric over reason and emotion over morality. Through him, Shakespeare dramatizes the power of language to shape history. Brutus kills Caesar to preserve the Republic. Antony's words destroy that Republic in a single speech. His transformation from orator to ruler mirrors the transformation of Rome itself, from a republic of ideals to an empire of power and persuasion. Antony also symbolizes the complexities of loyalty and ambition. His devotion to Caesar seems pure, yet it serves as the foundation for his rise to power. In avenging Caesar, Antony fulfills the role of the faithful friend. Still, he also becomes a new Caesar in the process, a figure willing to manipulate, deceive, and destroy in pursuit of political dominance. This duality positions Antony as a mirror to Caesar, both charismatic, both ambitious, both masters of persuasion. Yet where Caesar falls to idealists, Antony thrives in a world ruled by passion and duplicity. Antony symbolizes the human element in politics, the irrational forces of emotion, persuasion, and charisma that often outweigh logic or virtue. His funeral speech marks the collapse of rational republicanism and the rise of populist politics, where oratory and spectacle become the tools of control. Broader implications. Beyond the play's immediate setting, Antony's character carries enduring political implications. Written during the Elizabethan era, Julius Caesar reflects contemporary concerns about leadership, oratory, and public persuasion. In an age when royal authority depended on public image and rhetoric, Antony's mastery of speech and manipulation would have resonated deeply with Shakespeare's audience. Antony's ascent marks the beginning of a new political order, one based on spectacle and emotional control rather than moral virtue. His manipulation of the crowd prefigures modern political demagoguery, where leaders use persuasion to sway public opinion. Shakespeare's depiction of Antony thus serves as both admiration and warning. He is brilliant and charismatic, but his methods expose the fragility of truth in the face of eloquence. Moreover, Antony's character embodies the transition from personal loyalty to institutional power. His initial devotion to Caesar evolves into a quest for dominance, mirroring Rome's transition from a republic to an empire. By the end of the play, Antony stands not as Caesar's loyal friend, but as a new political force, ambitious, commanding, and morally ambiguous. Conclusion. Mark Antony's journey in Julius Caesar is one of evolution, from friend to avenger, from subordinate to ruler, from idealist to realist. Shakespeare presents him as a master of rhetoric, emotion, and strategy, whose intelligence and adaptability make him both admirable and unsettling. His funeral oration remains one of the most potent demonstrations of language's ability to shape reality, and his rise to power marks the death of republican virtue and the birth of imperial Rome. Antony's complexity lies in his duality. He is both loyal and ambitious, compassionate and manipulative, human and political. Through him, Shakespeare reveals the enduring truth that in politics, emotion often triumphs over reason, and that those who master language hold the keys to power. In the end, Antony's success contrasts with Brutus's failure, illustrating that survival in the political world belongs not to the purest, but to the most perceptive. His character stands as a timeless reminder of the seductive and dangerous power of persuasion.